Hello and welcome. Welcome to episode 29 of The Mighty Companions. My name is Reverend Glen and I am an interfaith minister and an integral mentor, and I am here to share my passion with you for A Course in Miracles. We are up to episode 29, and we are looking at chapter 21. I believe it's chapter 21. Here I am. Yes, chapter 21. And it's kind of interesting. We've got about 10 more chapters to go. We are there are 31 chapters in A Course in Miracles, so we are right at the 2/3 portion of reading The Course in Miracles this year. How you doing? I hope you're doing well. We are up to about less than 250, and there's only 365 lessons, so we only have about 250, right? Is it less than 250? 240? Yeah, we're up to less than 250, so we only have 150 lessons more to go. We are moving right along in exploring The Course in Miracles this year. I hope it's transforming your life. It certainly has transformed mine. I have been reading A Course in Miracles for about 8 years now, and I've been teaching it for about 5. I have a class here live in Manhattan at 2067 Broadway every Wednesday night from 7 to 9. So if you're interested, shoot me an email at gmganaway. That's gganaway @gmail.com, and I'll be happy to place you on my newsletter list, where you receive a little booklet every week about a couple of pages that we'll be reading in the class. Because like this class does, you can read the book in 12. You can read the book every year if you will read 12.8 pages a week. I know that sounds like kind of silly. My husband Yolanda is always joking with me about it. He goes, 12.8, really? 0.8? Well, you know, in any book, there's portions of every page that are blank. There are portions at the end of chapters. There are portions at the beginning of chapters that are blank. So that kind of takes up the 0.8 part. So if you've got 7 days and you need to read 12.8 pages a day, you need to be reading approximately about 1.5, 1 3/4 pages a day. And that's certainly manageable. A lot of people read a meditation in the morning. And I would encourage you to maybe look at the 12.8 pages that it's going to be covering, and they will come in sections of about 2 or 3 pages apiece. So each little section has a couple of pages in it. So if you read approximately a section a day, you could probably have at least 2 days off a week. So I would encourage you to do that as we read The Course in Miracles this year. We're up to lesson 250, and we are up to chapter 21. Chapter 21 is called Reason and Perception. Like any good technology, like any good consciousness technology, we're going to use all that's available to us in order to bring us to the perception and the experience of reality. Because isn't that what we all want? We want and I'm going to speak for myself, but I believe that it to be universal. All of these spiritual technologies, all of these consciousness technologies are designed to help us be comfortable in this present moment, to be able to, share myself with you, and to be able to receive you in return. This giving and this sharing, this relationship that we are, the Course in Miracles asks us to consider as our identity. Because, as the Bible tells us, when 2 or more people are gathered, the Holy Spirit appears, or Christ appears. I am with you, always. That is because we are always a relationship. We are always in relationship to everything that is. We cannot be described without describing everything else. We can't put us into or out of a situation without describing the whole situation as it is and reality as it is. So our goal here is to learn how to be pleasant and learn how to be present in that. I'm so happy you've decided to spend a couple of an hour with me, and it's not even important if you do the homework, because I'm going to be bringing you a kind of a synopsis, a kind of a bringing the Course in Miracles to you on a silver platter. These are lessons that we can apply in our lives. I like the Course in Miracles because I believe it is the best text right now in this modern day to talk about a non-dual awareness. Now, that's kind of maybe an odd word for you. Non-dual just means not two, right? Not two. We are not two things. We are one thing. And I'm offering you the idea that if we are all one, that we are this relationship with God. We are the relationship as God and us together. So, how do you use these ideas? How do we actually put them into practice? Well, the Course offers you some specific instructions that asks us to take the ideas from the Course in Miracles and to use them, and will prove that they are true. Now, I'm also an integralist, which means these ideas actually apply all over the world, and they apply in each of our relationships. If we take a spiritual idea, we can apply it to our internal dialogue and our prayer life and our internal structures in our minds, in our relationship with God. We can apply it in physical form. We can apply these laws and know what they feel like in a body. We can apply these laws and they will actually affect the world we live in. Science is even beginning to prove this right now with a thing called the observer effect. Wherever we are and place our consciousness on changes what is observed. When we apply these rules, we apply these laws to the world, it actually alters it actually alters the physical. We can apply these spiritual laws in our lives and create structures that create the outcomes that we want. Now, the spiritual laws are inside of a system, and it's God's system, and it's God's laws, and it's creating what some would call, I call it an altar of the heart, but some would call that the ultimate reality. Reality is here, and it can be experienced, and it is involved in this beautiful and unknowable, ultimately by human beings, structure that creates the outcomes, like us and the world and form and beauty and truth and knowledge. When we apply these ideas, we create structures that create the outcomes that we want. When we apply the ideas and the laws of love, we create institutions, relationships, and rules of behavior, and a culture that actually creates the peace, joy, love, and beauty that we want to experience. We can apply these laws into our relationships with our family and with our friends and at work, and actually improve our human relationships, actually improve our relationships with the world, with form in general, with our environment, with our relationship with God, our relationship in groups, and this group dynamic. So I'm here as an integralist to tell you that the world is not happening to you, that you are happening to the world, that the world is observable, the reality is observable, and it is we have the ability to experience it in our bodies as a community in relationship with God. That is what I am all about, and I am so glad that you would choose to spend an hour with me as I share this passion with you. The Course in Miracles, like a lot of good books, tells you hermeneutically how it is to be read. The Course in Miracles tells you what to do with its text, what to do with the workbook lessons, and what to do with what to do with the workbook lessons, and what to do with the text, and how to read the text, and what we should do with it. And she says that very clearly. But before I do that, I want to tell you in the beginning what the Course says about itself and in the context of this world that we're living in. She calls the Course in Miracles, well, she calls the world the Course in Miracles, your life and everything in it, and our learning a Course in Miracles. She kind of implies that that's all we're ever doing, and that this, like Alex Huxley said, that this is the little schoolhouse, that we are learning, and she calls this book a training manual. This is what she says in the introduction. This is the Course in Miracles. It's a required course. Only the time you take it is necessary. Free will does not mean that you can establish the curriculum. It only means that you can elect what you want to take at a given time. The Course does not aim at teaching the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. It does aim, however, at removing the blocks to love's awareness and to love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. The opposite of love is fear, but what is all-encompassing can have no opposites. This course can therefore be summed up very simply in this way. Nothing real is threatened, and nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. And that's what we'll go for. That's kind of the peace of God is her way of saying reality. Reality isn't frightening, and what is real is available for us to be experienced, and we choose how we do that. We're going to be talking a lot about that today in Reason and Perception, chapter 21. And this is how we're going to use the book. This is the workbook for the introduction to the workbook for students, and it tells us how to read it. It tells us how to use the Course in Miracles, and it gives us some very specific instructions. Okay? The overall aim of the exercises is to increase your ability to extend these ideas to include everything. This will require no effort on your part, and the exercises themselves meet the conditions necessary for this kind of transfer. Some of the ideas the workbook presents you'll find hard to believe, and others may seem to be quite startling. This doesn't matter, nor you are merely asked to apply the ideas you are directed to do. You're not asked to judge them. You're asked only to use them. It is their use that will give them meaning to you and will show you that they are true. Remember only this. You need not believe the ideas. You need not welcome them. And some of them you may actively resist. None of this will matter or decrease their efficacy. But do not allow yourself to make exceptions in applying the ideas the workbook contains. And whatever your reactions to the ideas may be, use them. And nothing more than that is required. Take into consideration the ideas that I'm going to be offering you in this hour. Offer the ideas that I've offered you in the previous 28 episodes. Consider using one of these ideas this week and see what happens. See how it changes your prayer life and your internal dialogue. See how it feels in your body. See what structures it's a part of, what it builds, what kind of other ideas that it implies that are incongruent or congruent with other systems that you're already using, like traffic law or a cooking recipe or any kind of law, the civil law, civic law, politics, the ways in which cultural ideas about how we behave in an office or what a body is supposed to do or what a body is for. There's structures. Apply these ideas to the structures in your life and see what happens. But mostly I want to offer you to apply these ideas in your relationships. We are one. Course offers us that. It's an Advaita message. This is old as the hills, my mother would say. It's as old as the hills. Oh, who knows where that came from? It's as old as the hills. We're a relationship, you and me. The world, everything in it, is one relationship. Many facets, many ways of being and acting, and many places in that relationship. But where these laws have their greatest effect is in a relationship. As we apply these ideas in our lives and how we deal with others, how we deal with our brother, how we think about our brother, our mother, our sister, especially the people that we do not like and we have conflict with, especially if the people that we've carved out for a special function in our life, like our lovers, brothers, mothers, best friends. Applying these ideas in those relationships will get you the most dramatic, will provide you with the most dramatic effects. Because applying truth inside of a relationship is the way to heal that relationship. Now, I know that I think all relationships could be improved upon. Maybe you don't think that. Maybe you think your relationships are perfect just the way they are. And it's quite possible they very well might be. And I'm not saying otherwise. I am offering you the idea that these lessons, these spiritual ideas, that in this example of chapter 21, using reason and perception, using reason in your relationships will dramatically alter your relationships. And that's for the better. I'm implying it's for the better. I hope you know it's for the better. Real often, I tell people, if you don't want a radical change in your life, if you don't want radical healing and prosperity and abundance in your life, if you don't want to heal from the past, then you should not do A Course in Miracles. A Course in Miracles will change your life if you apply these ideas, because it will change your relationship to everyone and everything around you. So let's get started, shall we? If you're doing the Course in Miracles in a year, you would be up to around lesson 250. Lesson 250 is we're moving into different sections in the second part of the year. First half of the year, we build the foundation of the altar. We place the mortar, and we build the foundation for everything that's going to be built on the altar of our heart, where we invite the Holy Spirit in to direct our lives for our own best interest and our own happiness, and so we can fulfill our place in the mind of God. We build that altar, and we put different chambers and different rooms in that heart. We put forgiveness in there. We put we have to have an understanding of sin, and right now, and that's kind of what we're doing right now. We're looking at the ways in which we're about to go into what is the world. So we're looking at today at what is sin. Sin is an illusion. We've done a lot about that. We talked a lot about that last week. So we come to this part at lesson 250 and realizing what the idea of sin, which is the idea that you can break God and get something so wrong that you have to be punished for it. We come to this place in Course in Miracles in lesson 250 where we realized what sin, the idea of sin, acting on sin, the structures it creates, how it feels, what it does to our prayer life and our relationships. Come to realize what it does to us, what this idea does to us. And the counteraction for that is lesson 250. We find ourselves here and we say, oh God, let me not see myself as limited. Let me not see myself as limited. Let me behold the Son of God today. Let me behold the Son of God today and witness to His glory. Let me not try to obscure the holy light in Him and see strength diminished and reduced to frailty, nor perceive the lacks in Him, which I would attack His sovereignty. We can change the genders around. Let me behold the daughter of God today. Let me behold the child of God today, and witness to her glory, and witness to their glory. Let me try not to obscure the holy light in her. Let me not try to obscure the holy light in them, and see her strength, and see God's strength, and see our strength, and see their strength diminished or reduced to frailty. nor perceive the lacks in her, nor perceive the lacks in them, nor perceive lack in them, with which I would attack his sovereignty, in which I would attack her sovereignty, in which I would attack their sovereignty. She offers us this prayer. He is your Son, my Father. And today I would behold his greatness instead of my illusions. He is what I am, and I see him, so I see myself. Today I would see truly that this day I may at last identify him, identify with him. Today I would see truly that this day I may identify with her. We're one. That's what the Course is offering here. And the way we do that is to realize that sin has limited us. And we use sin to limit how we see others. We see them as limited, as frail. She offers this idea of frail. And we attack their sovereignty. We attack other groups' ability to have self-determination. Tell other people, whole groups of people, how they can dress. Whole groups of people about how they can walk through the world, about how they can use their body. Whether they can have tattoos or get abortions or get pierced, or to be holy, you have to wear these clothes and have this haircut, and on and on and on. Behold, let me just see him as unlimited. Let me see her as myself. And when I do, it is proof that I'm looking within and finding myself as unlimited. So we're here to use reason in chapter 21 to really bring out that idea of being limitless. Today, we're going to be looking at, from a text of chapter 21, reason and perception. Reason and perception. The introduction, which, you know, when you get an introduction, it's going to be we got some heavy lifting to do. We're going to read that to you. The Forgotten Song. Sounds like a nice romantic movie, doesn't it? I love these. These always sound like song titles in movies. Does that strike you that way? Do you hear these things and get movies and songs in your head? I do. The Forgotten Song. Then the Responsibility for Sight. Which kind of might be a textbook. Faith, Belief, and Vision. And then we'll look at the Fear to Look Within. That's a different kind of, don't look within, the fear to look within. Maybe we'll get a possession story, or Satan has been, or the Antichrist is the word I'm looking at. The fear to look within. That's one of those Antichrist movies, right? Okay. Maybe it's within a house or something like that. Don't go in the house. Don't go in the house. I just love these things. Anyway, I'm getting kind of ahead of myself. So here we are. We got we did a little bit of framing, and this is how the Course introduces itself. And it's very short. It's just 2 paragraphs. It says, projection makes perception. Projection makes perception. Projection. She is using it in the strict Jungian idea of perception, projection. Excuse me, projection. When we disown something and we project it outside of us, we disown something and then say somebody else has it and we don't. Projection makes perception. The world you see is what you gave it, nothing more than that. But though it is no more than that, it's not less. Therefore, to you, it is important. It is the witness to your state of mind, the outside picture of an inward condition. As a man thinketh, so does he perceive. I think that's Kant, actually. Therefore, see not to change the world, but choose to change your mind about the world. Seek not to change the world, but choose to change your mind about the world. Goes one step farther than Gandhi, doesn't it? Perception is a result and not a cause. Perception is a result and not a cause. And that is why order of difficulties in miracles is meaningless. That's the first law of miracles. Characteristic of miracles is that there is no difficulty, no order in miracles. Everything looked upon with vision is healed and holy. Nothing perceived without it means anything, which means you have perception, and when you've got vision inside of it, it turns it holy. But if you have perception that's just perception, you just have an outward picture of an inward opinion. Nothing perceived without it means anything, and therefore there's no meaning, and there's chaos. We looked at that last week. We're going to be looking at that. The laws. I love these premonitions, these tastes of things to come. We've got the laws of chaos coming up. One of my favorite chapters. So stick around. We've got the laws of chaos to come up. We need to be understanding about vision and the desire for meaning, because otherwise we're going to be creating chaos, and then we have a lot of chaos, and we'll go into that later in the year. But damnation is your judgment on yourself. Damnation is your judgment on yourself, and this you will project upon the world. Oh, wow. How you see yourself is how you conduct yourself in the world. So what world do you live in? That's kind of what you think about yourself. So could be kind of harsh. Don't take my word for it. Apply the ideas and see what happens. See it as damned. See the world as damned, and all you see is what you did to hurt the Son of God. If you behold disaster and catastrophe, you tried to crucify him. If you see holiness and hope, you join the will of God to set him free. There is no choice that lies between these two decisions. She offers you a black and white idea here. And you will see the witness to the choice you made and learn from this to recognize which one you choose. There will be no fence sitting. There will be no fence sitting. You are either with you're either with me or against me. No, she says. Witness the choice you make. You're either going to see the world as broken and frail, or you're going to see it as holy. There isn't anything in between. Section 2, the forgotten song. You knew there'd be a song. You just knew there'd be a song, didn't you? You knew there had to be a song. There has to be a song. God is my constant companion. How about that? We'll use that as a song today. She offers you the idea here of a forgotten song. The introduction says that as a man thinketh, so does he perceive. Seek not to change the world, but choose to change your mind about the world. And how is that even possible? She offers this idea. There is no need to learn through pain. Your suffering is not necessary. There is no need to learn through pain. Can you act on that idea? There is no need to learn through pain. No pain, no gain. Have you ever heard that? It's not a spiritual law. It's not a spiritual law. No pain, no gain is not a spiritual law. There is no need to learn through pain. Like, all this suffering, is, God testing you. You're just being tested. It's not a spiritual law. Gentle lessons are acquired joyously and are remembered gladly. What gives you happiness you want to learn and not forget? Is it not this you would deny? Your question is whether the means by which this course is learned will bring you the joy it promises. If you believed it would, the learning of it would be no problem. No problemo. It's promised me joy. I'll do whatever it says because it's going to bring me joy. And when I do what it says, it brings me joy. How's that for a promise for applying the ideas? If you believed it would, the learning of it would be no problem. You're not a happy learner yet because you still remain uncertain that vision gives you more than judgment does. And you have learned that both you cannot have. Either we are judging the world or we're seeing it as it is. If you're judging the world, you're not seeing it as it is. We're not talking about discernment. We're not talking about making good decisions about going left or right in order to get to the grocery store. We're talking about judgment. We're talking about, I'm only going to be happy if it's this way, not a spiritual law. So listen. It's exactly what she says. Listen. Listen. This is an innate ability we each have. Vision is an innate ability we have. She contrasts that with perception. Perception she's associating with judgment. The projection she's associating with judgment. When we see the world through our unexamined opinions, we don't see correctly. So, do you want to apply? Do you want to see correctly? The Course is offering you that if you would see it not only as holy, and now she's implying as in you would be happy. God's will for you is perfect happiness, the Course says, and I personally believe that. Custom designed happiness. Happiness just for me. Do you believe God has a custom happiness for you? Customized for this little beautiful, incredible piece of his mind. God, if you don't believe the Course is going to bring you joy, you're not going to do it. So, if it's going to bring you, so it could be bringing you joy, but only if you apply the lessons. Like, you don't judge them, you apply them, and you work with what comes up, right? That's what's going on. That is exactly what's going on. So here we are. We are looking today, and we're looking at the thing called the song, the forgotten song, and she says, listen. The answer to how we do this is to listen. Listen, she says. Perhaps you catch a glimpse of an ancient state not quite forgotten. Dim, perhaps, and yet not altogether unfamiliar. Like a song whose name is long forgotten, and the circumstances in which you heard it completely unremembered. A whole song has stayed with you, but just a little wisp of melody, attached not to a person or a place or anything particular. But you remember from just this little part, how lovely was that song, how wonderful the setting where you heard it, and how you loved those who were there and listened with you. That metaphor of an ancient melody is one that's used a lot in poetry to talk about our relationship with God. Kind of like a lost relationship with God. I think, Paradise Lost. I can't remember the poet who did that. Used this idea of the song of I believe the song that we still hear from our time in the Garden of Eden. There's something that we know is not quite right. That's the beginning of this hero's journey that we've been on. But we find a teacher. We hear that song. We go, I know it's this way. It's like following that song. Where's that song coming from? This is a metaphor that's used a lot in all kinds of literature. And you know why? Because we recognize the truth. We recognize what's beautiful and glorious because that's who we are. We recognize our relationship with what is perfect and glorious because that's who we are. When you don't know what to do, listen for that song. Listen for that ancient song that calls you home, that calls you to this moment where the solution is. This moment. This moment, this relationship with all that is here now, calling to you. Like a siren, right? Calling to you like a siren. But you won't have to strap yourself like Ulysses did to the main post, so he wouldn't be tempted to steer the boat toward the rocks where the sirens were. It's kind of an upside down, kind of the shadow part of that. So one idea of this song is she's offering us is the call to who we are, which is compelling. The other is the idea that the Ulysses uses is this song to be who we aren't, the song to pursue comfort over our fulfillment, to pursue a singular pleasure over our wellness and beauty and peace. She says the notes are nothing, yet you've kept them within you, not for themselves, but as a soft reminder of what would make you weep if you remembered how dear it was to you. You could remember, yet you are afraid, believing you would lose the world you learned since then, believing that you would lose the world you learned since then. And yet you know that nothing in the world nothing in the world you learn is half so dear as this song, this ancient melody that calls you home, calls you to this present moment. Listen, she says, listen, and see if you remember an ancient song you knew so long ago and held more dear than any melody you taught yourself to cherish since then. We try to reinvent ourselves. We really do. We try to, and some of us do actually create music, which is a continuation of this song, I believe, and draws others to our presence. The world has a song as well. The song that tempts us to, like I was saying, to, I don't know, comfort and illusion, deeper illusion. It's very unsatisfying. It's louder, probably. But who we are, that ancient melody that calls to us, the gods playing this music, this song, trying to bring us home. And how do we do that? How do we get on this path? How do we know what is right? She offers us very clear idea. We're talking about, see, we have this idea of perception. Perception when we are using vision, using the mind of Christ to look out into the world. We actually see it as it is. Perception shows us our judgment and our fear. What we follow, how we walk in the world is by choosing the song we're going to listen to, the song we're going to follow, the drum beat we're going to dance to. We're choosing that. But how we find, how we look at the road and how we look at the world as we're dancing and singing along this path, this following this Pied Piper, is this. It's called section 3. It's called the responsibility for sight. The responsibility for sight. She says this: we've repeated how little is asked of you to learn this course. It is the same small willingness you need to have your whole relationship, and I would say relationships, but relationship, because we are a relationship. You need to have your whole relationship transformed to joy, the little gift you offer to the Holy Spirit, for which He gives you everything, and very little on which salvation rests. The tiny change of mind by which the crucifixion is changed to resurrection. See, that's a change in perception to vision right there. We change it from a desire to hurt and change people to the desire to lift them up and see them as the Son of God. And being true, with this vision of seeing each other as the Son of God, this song we hear, and being true, it is so simple that it cannot fail to be completely understood. Rejected, yes, but not ambiguous. And if you choose against it now, it will not be because it's obscure, but rather that this little cost, this world that you think you wanted instead of the real world, instead of peace, this idea that you was more compelling than peace, is in your judgment be too much to pay for peace, she says. This cost it seemed in your judgment to be too much to pay for peace. I can't go with you. It costs me too much comfort. That's what we say. I can't go with you. It's going to cost me my dreams of how I'm going to be happy. I can't follow this song because it means I would have to give up the idea that I am frail. You're not frail. You're unlimited. And when you look inside, you'll find that out, and you'll be able to see the unlimited quality of our relationship in everyone. Could be. You're limitless. You're not limited. Let me not see myself as limited. Let me not see my brother as limited. We have a responsibility for how we see the world. We can choose to see it through the Holy Spirit's eyes, through our higher self, through God's eyes, through the oneness of all of this, and see ourselves in each other, or we're going to see ourselves as in competition with each other for limited resources. It's not actually true. That's not a spiritual law. We don't need to learn from all the pain and suffering. We cannot learn from pain and suffering. We only learn from joining and sharing through suffering here. This is the only thing that you need do for vision, happiness, and release from pain, and the complete escape from sin. All has been given you. How about that? She offers you in the next paragraph the only thing you need do. Ah, wow. Give me that. The only thing I need do for vision, for happiness, for release from pain, and the complete escape from sin? Say only this. She offers you a prayer. Say only this, but mean it with no reservations. Intent is very important. That's kind of our fuel that we put into our lives to experience reality. Intent is mean it. You need to mean it. Even if you don't believe it, you got to mean it. For here the power of salvation lies. Here the power of salvation lies. You want to save yourself and your friends, family, and the world from your judgment and your projections, pain, suffering, all of that. Say only this. I am responsible for what I see. I am responsible for what I see. I choose the feelings I experience and decide upon the goal I would achieve. I choose the feelings I experience and I decide upon the goal I would achieve. I decide the feelings I experience and I decide the goal I would achieve. I choose the feelings I experience and I choose the goal I would achieve. And everything that seems to happen to me, I ask for and receive as I have asked. Everything that happens to me, I ask for and receive as I have asked. And everything that seems to happen to me, I ask for and receive as I have asked. I am responsible for what I see. I choose the experiences I experience, and I decide upon the goal that I would achieve. And everything that seems to happen to me, I ask for and receive as I have asked. I have friends that have this. I think I have a friend who has this as a tattoo on her side. Very important prayer in A Course in Miracles. Says a lot. Do you believe that the world is happening to you? This is how I say it. Do you believe the world is happening to you? Or do you believe that you happen to the world? Are you taking responsibility for the goals that you would achieve? Do you think somebody else is giving you your feelings? You hurt my feelings. No, you used what they said to hurt yourself. Big ideas. I'm not asking you to believe them. I'm only asking you not to judge them and not to judge them and to apply them and see what happens. See what it does to your relationship. See what this does to your relationship. I'm responsible for what I see. Whew. Homeless, war, beauty, peace. I choose the feelings I would experience. I decide upon the goal I would achieve. I'm deciding what goal I achieve. I'm deciding what goal I achieve. I'm deciding what goal I achieve. Woo! Because I think other people are choosing for me a lot sometimes. Do you? I don't have a choice. Well, yeah, you always have a choice. Always, always, always. Free will does not mean that you can choose what happens to you. You can only choose the order in which you learn the lessons. This is A Course in Miracles. Whew. Decide for yourself. Decide for yourself no longer that you are helpless in the face of what is done to you. Acknowledge that you've just been mistaken. Acknowledge that you've been mistaken and all the effects of your mistakes will disappear. How's that for a promise? Do you want all the effects of your mistakes to disappear? How can I get all the effects of my mistakes to disappear, Jesus? I want all the effects of my mistakes to disappear, God. I want all the effects of my mistakes to disappear. Then take responsibility for what you see. Take responsibility for the feelings that you have as self-created. Choose the goals you want, not the goals that you think are going to please other people or get you more comfort. Choose the goals that align with that song in your head. I'm listening and following the song of the Holy Spirit, the song of prayer. I'm asking for everything that is happening to me. I want all the consequences, all the effects of the mistakes I've made to disappear. So I acknowledge that I am asking for everything that's happening to me. Everything that's going on with me in my world, everything that's happening to me, I'm asking for. Come on, this is what I signed up for. I chose the order of this curriculum. I did. And if I do that, the effects of my mistakes disappear. But the effects of my right action, the effects of my true and authentic sharing, live forever. It's the implied idea here. We have about 12 minutes to go. We've talked about some kind of big ideas here, about a lot about what projection is. Projection is when we don't like something about ourselves and we say it, we give it to somebody else and say it's them, right? We do it to people. We do it to like places and inanimate objects and things like that as well. We have a golden shadow as well. We can project onto others all the beauty we don't believe we possess. We can project onto others all the talent and loveliness we think that we do not possess. We certainly do project onto others all the ugliness and our faults that we don't like about ourselves. Well, we can see them as they are if we choose the vision of the Holy Spirit. We choose the vision of who we really are. We choose to be in relationship with God. We actually will see our brother, our sister as ourselves. We'll say, oh my God, I do the same thing. We are so much alike. Good. And then we can begin to have that dialogue of healing. When I see you as myself, when I recognize God in you, I have the opportunity to invite Christ into this relationship, and I have the ability to heal. And I hear that song. I hear the song of my heart that God is singing just for me in my perfect song, my most compelling song to bring me into this moment of sharing with you, to share myself with you. So I can take responsibility for my actions and be present and create create in passion the world that I want to exist in, and take responsibility for how I feel and what I do. Section 4 is called Faith and Belief in Vision. It's very simple. You've heard this concept before. It's a very popular one. I'm not going to spend too much time here. She says, why is it strange to you that faith can move mountains? This is indeed a little feat for such a power, for faith can keep the Son of God in chains as long as he believes he's in chains. And when he is released from them, it will be simply because he no longer believes in them, withdrawing faith that they can hold him and placing it into freedom instead. It is impossible they can hold him. Okay, it is impossible to place equal faith in opposite directions. It is impossible to face equal faith in opposite directions. What faith you give to sin, you take away from holiness. And what you offer holiness has been removed from sin. It's a pretty obvious idea here. Many of us are very familiar with this idea. Faith and belief and vision are means by which the goal of holiness is reached. These are structural ideas, okay? If you want outcomes that involve holiness, you have to engage belief, vision. Belief and vision are the way in which the holiness is reached. Through them, the Holy Spirit, through faith, through belief and vision, the Holy Spirit leads you to the real world and away from the illusions where your faith is laid. This is his direction and the only one he ever sees. And when you wander, he reminds you there is one. His faith and his belief and vision are all for you. And when you have accepted them completely instead of yours, you will have need of them no longer, their belief and illusions. For faith and vision and belief are meaningful only before the state of certainty is reached. In heaven, they're unknown, yet heaven is reached through them. Right. This moment doesn't need to be proven. Once you get here, you know it's true. You know you're here. You know about oneness. Presence actually gives you the idea that will actually proves to me, helps me to understand and live from a place in which I'm sharing my song with others. Heaven is reached here because I've used the vision of the Holy Spirit to follow that vision. I have faith. I've had faith and belief in teachers and friends and the activities the Holy Spirit has asked me to engage in that prove that heaven is here. It is impossible that the Son of God lack faith, but he can choose where he would have it be. Very simple idea. He can choose where he would have it be. Faithlessness is not a lack of faith, but a faith in nothing. That's my little bit tweak on that idea. Faithlessness is not a lack of belief. Faithlessness is not a lack of faith, but faith in nothing. Faith given to illusions does not lack power, for by it does the Son of God believe that he's powerless. She's restating this a couple of different ways. Thus is he faithful. Thus is he, that would be us, the delusionary Son of God. Thus is he faithless to himself, but strong in faith in the illusions about himself. But I'm in chains. I can't do this. I'm limited. No. Faith in the perception and belief that you made as means for losing certainty of finding sin, right? The chains are sin. Chains keep us bound up. We learned that in the last chapter. Don't do it. Don't use your projection in order to further reinforce your ideas that you're bad and awful and the world is happening to you and you've got no control over what happens to you. It's not true. She's offering you that it's not true. You have to apply the ideas in order to know that it's not true. Until you do, you will think that it is true. So there you have it. You don't believe me, try it out. This mad direction this mad direction was your choice, for by your faith in what you choose, you made what you desired. So, own it. If you desire drama and nastiness, that's what you'll get. So, the last pit here is called the fear to look within. In this last 5 minutes, I'd like you to ask you to do that really crazy thing that we're told never to do. To really think about what that means, to look within. If projection is coming from within, don't you want to know where this projection is coming from? If we're only ever experiencing our opinions about ourselves and our opinions about reality, don't you want to find out about the source of that, so that you might be able to experience in this body, this learning device, this perception device, where that's coming from? If you truly want, the reason would say, if you truly want to experience happiness, you will find out what structures, what actions you can take that actually produce the feelings of the comfort and happiness that you want. This is what she says. What if you looked within and saw no pain? What if you looked within and saw no sin? This fearful question is one the ego never asks. And you who ask it are now threatening the ego's whole defense system too seriously for it to bother to pretend it is your friend. Those who have joined their brothers have detached themselves from their belief that their identity lies in the ego. A holy relationship is one in which you join with what is a part of you in truth, and your belief in sin has been shaken. Nor are you now entirely unwilling to look within and see sin not. Your liberation still is only partial, but still limited and still incomplete, yet born within you. Not wholly mad, you've been willing to look on much of your insanity and recognize your madness. Your faith is moving inward, past insanity, and on to reason. And what your reason tells you now, the ego would not hear. The Holy Spirit's purpose was accepted by the part of the mind the ego knows not of. No more did you, and yet this part, with which you now identify, is not afraid to look upon yourself. It knows no sin. How otherwise could it have been willing to see the Holy Spirit's purpose as its own? And now the ego is afraid. Yet what it hears, and yet what song it hears in terror, the other part of you that knows no sin, hears as the sweetest song. The song it has longed to hear since at first the ego came to your mind. The ego's weakness is its strength. The song of freedom, which sings the praises of another world, brings to it hope and peace. For it remembers heaven, and now it sees that heaven has come to earth at last, from which the ego's rule has kept it out so long. Heaven has come because it has found a home in your relationship on earth. And earth can hold no longer what has been given heaven as its own. Look gently on your brother and remember the ego's weakness is revealed in both your side. What it would keep apart has met and joined, and looks upon the ego unafraid. Little child, innocent of sin, follow in gladness the way to certainty. Be not held back by fear's insane assistance that sureness lies in doubt. This has no meaning. What matters it to you how loudly it is proclaimed. The senseless is not made meaningful by repetition and by clamor. The quiet way is open. Follow it happily and question not what must be so. Question not what must be so. My name is Reverend Glen and I'm an integral mentor. I am an interfaith minister, and I have a passion for A Course in Miracles. Thank you for joining me for an hour as we go through the first part of Reason and Perception in chapter 21. We're going to be doing next week the rest of chapter 21. Please know that there's a song within you that you can follow that God is singing just for you to bring you into this most delicious moment. This most delicious moment is all about being with me, all about being with all that is. So join us here in the moment. We need you. And you're very welcome to stay here.
My constant companion, God is. Well, today is a brand new day to look at life in a different way. Oh, today is a brand new day to look at life in a different way. God is. Because God is. God is, well, God is my constant companion. God is, well, God is my constant companion. God is, well, I choose help. God is, I choose love. God is, I choose joy. I choose joy, because God is God is my constant companion. Oh, God is my constant companion. God is. Oh, today is a brand new day to look at life in a different way. Oh, today is a brand new day to look at life in a different way. God is. Because God is. God is my constant companion. God is, well, God is my constant companion. God is, well, I choose help. God is, I choose love. God is, I choose joy. I choose joy, because God is. God is. God is good. God is love. God is joy. God is peace. God is good.